My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/campaign to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Move your career further, faster in just 2 days with a Harvard Professional and Executive Development Program. Advance your leadership skills, craft smarter business strategies, build your network, and transform how you work and think to keep your career moving forward. You'll earn a certificate and can add Harvard to your resume with Harvard Professional and Executive Development. Learn more at professional.dce.harvard.edu/Spotify.
Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Welcome to Book Talk for Book Talk, a literary podcast where we have been deep diving into your favorite novels.
This is Jack.
And I'm Amy.
This summer, we are talking to some of our and TikTok's favorite authors. In our Summer of Love series, we'll be chatting with best-selling authors about their books, characters, and more. Explicit language, as well as themes of sex, violence, abuse, death, and depression will recur throughout this podcast. Listener discretion is advised. J.T. Geissinger is a #1 international and Amazon charts best-selling author of 30 novels. Ranging from funny, feisty rom-coms to intense erotic thrillers, her books have sold over 10 million copies worldwide and have been translated into more than 20 languages. She is a 3-time finalist in both contemporary and paranormal romance for the RITA Award, the highest distinction in romance fiction from the Romance Writers of America. She is also a recipient of Prism Award for Best First Book, the Golden Quill Award for Best Paranormal/Urban Fantasy, and the Holt Medallion for Best Erotic Romance. Welcome, JT.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So impressive reading all the awards. Oh my God.
Well. Yeah.
It makes sense though. Like when we were reading through them, I was like, yeah, this holds up.
Yeah,
I understand.
Yeah, absolutely.
I try.
Well, I think you succeed.
I started reading your books like late last year type of timeline. And it's one of those, I couldn't shut up about it. Like I was very aggressive, or I was like, my brain chemistry has changed. And I've officially have to have a warning whenever I read, like I have to, like, because I will stay up until 3 a.m. Like there's no, I consistently finish within 24 hours. Because it's like, yeah, I can't stop. It's a problem. So I'm always like, whenever we do recommendations.
From a writer's perspective, though, that you can't put the book down. So
like
that's good.
The sleep that I've, and so I have to like know the next day, like, I'm like, I don't have meetings. Okay, this is a good day to sleep in. And I always warn our listeners, because you're one of like the top people I always recommend, where it's like, okay, do this, but just be prepared. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good. Thank you. That's great.
So JT, tell us about yourself and how and when you got into writing. Did you always know you wanted to be a romance author?
No, I never wanted to write romance because I was kind of a snob about it. I was just a book nerd, I guess. Growing up, I loved to read. I loved books, and my whole family was that way. And so I always sort of thought I was going to write a novel one day. It's kind of one of those things that's on a lot of people's bucket list, you know. But I turned 40 and I decided, okay, I really need to, follow my passion here. And so I did. I wrote a book. And at that time, I think Twilight had just come out around that time. And I was a big Stephenie Meyer fan. And I heard an interview with her where she said that she didn't have any experience as a writer. She was a stay-at-home mom at the time. She didn't go to school for journalism. She literally woke up from a dream that she had that was so intense. She started writing this book. And I'm like, well, I found that really inspiring, right? So the combination of that story where she didn't have really any experience and my 40th birthday was kind of just the time where I'm like, I'm going to write a book. So I did. And I ended up finding a literary agent and she sold it to a publisher. So that's how I got my start.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Straight into pub.
Straight into publishing. Yep. And so I was with Montlake Romance for like 16 books. And then I decided I wanted to try my hand at indie publishing.
Okay.
And so I did another, I don't know, like 15 books. And so indie has been great for me, but I am in the process of just signing a big contract with Tor, with their new romance imprint. So I'm going to be going back to traditional publishing again. So
congrats.
Matt, thank you. Thank you.
That's really exciting and inspiring.
Yeah. I encourage people because there's a lot of people who want to write a book, right? And it seems like a very daunting task, but you just have to trust yourself and say, okay, I have this story I want to tell, and just try and write the book. And then once it's done, you can try and make it better and edit it and things like that. And you can put it out there and people will read it. So it's, with the advent of Kindle Unlimited and things like that, publishing, it's easy. I don't want to say it's easy, but it's much easier than it used to be for writers to get their work into public view. So,
and with Kindle Unlimited, like just being able to consume so many different types of stories, like never have I ever thought I would be this deep into mafia, hockey, small town like romances, and yet. But then it's also inspiring too, like just seeing all these or reading all these different stories and then thinking like, oh, I really like this, but maybe I would do it slightly different. And then because like art inspires art.
Right.
It really does. It really does. And the more that you read, and I think that's one of the reasons too, that I was able to write a book, or at least I had the confidence to do it, is because I had read so much and I was like, it doesn't seem like it's that hard. So, yeah, so it sort of informs your genre. But yeah, when I was first starting out, I didn't really want to write a romance. I wanted to be like a really snooty literary writer, and no, that didn't happen. There was all this sex that kept ending up in all my stories, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess.
All right, well, they want a bone. I can't stop that.
Oh, look, there's another dick. Oh my, okay. At the beginning, it was actually kind of awkward because my dad, who was an aerospace engineer, was so proud that I got this publishing contract, and he bought all these books, which he didn't tell me, for his friends. And then he told me afterward, and I was like, okay, there's a lot of sex in these books, Dad. And he's like, well, we're all adults, whatever. So after he read the book, he was like, what the? Like, how did you learn that? Like, you don't want to know.
Like the internet search history, Dad. We don't need to go there.
Everything, that's all. Yes. So, I think it traumatized my poor father, but
was like when you first started writing, did your because I've written like stories before too, and like my mom will read it, but she keeps putting me as the main character, where it's like, I need you to not, because one day I will write, I am writing something spicy, so it's like, I need you to not think of me, please, in that.
Yeah. No, yeah. And I always tell people, I'm not writing autobiographies. So these characters that I create, people will ask me, well, which of your heroines is most like you? None of them. They all have parts of personality traits, but it's fiction. So I'm just making all this stuff up. But readers have a tendency to want to think that the author is like characters.
Yes. Yep.
Like, well, then Stephen King, the police better go dig up his backyard, for bodies.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's just imagination. You can draw on your real life experiences, of course. But you got to make a lot of stuff up.
I love that you love Twilight. I was wearing my Twilight t-shirt all day yesterday, so I'm just.
I was just, and I dragged my husband to the movie when it first came out.
Damn right, yeah.
And he was so loudly sighing in disgust the whole time. I told him to leave because he was just like, oh, like. And every time Edward would say something to Bella, he was like. And I'm like, it's me and him and a whole theater full of like moms and their daughters.
Yeah.
You're
wrecking it for everyone. Get out.
Look, spider monkeys are the most sexy monkeys out there. Okay, just let it be.
Right? Oh god. Yeah. So he rolls his eyes at the whole thing.
Twilight fan fiction was the first like full length thing I've ever written.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. See, he inspired a lot of people.
It did.
Yeah.
So one of the genres that I'm most familiar with, although like I've been branching them to your other genres too, but is the mafia romance. And
Yes.
I am a sucker for a mafia romance.
Okay.
I've learned that I don't have morals, or I'm willing to give them up because of them. But
Well,
without,
for fiction, you will, yeah.
oh yeah, yeah, I'm sure it's only fictional.
Yeah.
Without giving away any major spoilers, did you know you wanted your leading men to be good guys at heart? Do you find it challenging to write morals into mafia men without revealing your hand?
You know, most people are somewhere on a spectrum of gray morally. I mean, everyone that I've ever met. And most people have secret lives and secrets. And so you meet someone and you think they're one way, but people have all kinds of secrets. And so I really wanted to create characters that were complex, and working in a mafia world, you know, these guys can do anything. They can be outside of the law, but I never want them to be psychopaths. Like, yes, they're murderers. They kill people. Yeah, they do all these kinds of bad things, but they're loyal, you know, they're strong, they're soft for their woman. So I wanted them to have more facets instead of just being this, you know, one-dimensional character. So I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does. No, it does. For me, I think of the Monsters and Queens series, and then it like dips into other series. There's like that big plot twist at the end where I'm just like, oh damn, this is, I was shocked every single time, even though it was like, I see what you're doing. It took me like by the third book to be like, yes, I see what this is. It's a syndicate. But like to be able to get to that point, it surprised me every time where I was like, oh my God, this makes sense now.
Yeah, I have a lot of I like to do twists, and they usually occur to me as I'm writing something, because I sort of get to know the characters, and then I don't do plots at all. I'm very character driven. So I just start with two characters and some kind of a conflict. And so, like, for instance, the first book, Ruthless Creatures in the Queens and Monsters series, Natalie, her you know, boyfriend has been gone for years and years. Oh my God, Cage, yeah. And this mysterious guy, you know, moves in next door, and it turns out he's been sent to kill her. So that's a pretty big conflict between these two. And they fall in love. So, like, how do you make that work out? So I just went from there. I had no idea about the background of him or really her, except for that she had lost her fiance. And so I just it surprises me during the story. And so I think that comes across for the readers, because they're like, oh my God, what just happened? And I'm like, I don't know. I just read that.
I love that. I love that because I got into writing fan fiction, and it was very character driven, and I would just like feel or imagine a scene, and I would just write the scene.
Yeah.
And it wasn't about plot. It was just about a moment and an interaction. And so I love that you could write a whole novel based on that one concept and be like, how am I going to figure that? How am I going to solve this? And I love that.
Sometimes you'll get to a point in the manuscript where you're just like, ooh, like maybe you wrote yourself into a corner because something already happened back here and you kind of veered off in a direction and you're like, shh. So at that point, you just have to say to yourself, okay, I'm going to backtrack and start writing here and see what happens in this direction. And then sometimes it's better, but you learn to trust yourself as a writer. Some of these roads that you go down in your manuscripts that are dead ends. So you got to kind of take out a couple chapters and go back. And some people, I think, get really down on themselves and they criticize themselves for doing that. But it's like, it's all part of the process. You know, after 31 novels now, or 32, something I've written, I just trust the process. And I know that in the end, it's going to work out. So it doesn't matter how you get there, just that you get there.
Yeah. It's so refreshing, because I think so many people get caught in the plot, and I wish that rhymed more, but they get caught in the plot. And Amy and I we met in our bachelor's degree, and we went to school for creative writing. And we always say that it like sucked the soul out of us and the creativity out of us, because they drill it into you of like, you need to map it out. You have to do all these things. And it's just like, I love character driven plots, like in books.
All about the, you know, if you're writing a thriller, like a police procedural thriller where there has to be, I can see it a little bit more structured, but when you're writing romance, it's all about the feeling, right?
Yeah.
And it's about your relationship building, and you just have to get these characters together and let them talk and see what the situations turn out to be, and, you know, have them have hot sex. And it's like, you don't need to plot that all out. The only time I tried to plot a novel, and it was like 10 pages of, you know, all these plot points. And I ended up hating the process so much, I never wrote that book. So I just don't do it at all. Yeah. And now sometimes I just let myself, you know, be inspired by, like, for instance, Pen Pal. I saw that picture of the model and I was like, I have to use that. I don't know what I'm writing yet. I have to use So I had that cover, and then I knew I wanted to write. I can't say what it is because it's a super spoiler, like the little blurb. I knew I wanted to write about a woman who didn't know she was,
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I just started writing, and, you just have to take inspiration wherever it comes and just run with it. Cause that's what creativity is. It's not about rules. It's about getting rid of the rules and running with it.
I'm really I'm always very tired of character driven, that passion just not always being taken seriously in general. You think of things like the classics like Lord of the Rings and a bunch of other white men and like what they do, and it's just never liked Fahrenheit 9/11. No, not Fahrenheit
451.
Yeah, I don't even remember it. 451. Yes, I don't like. Great Gatsby is one of my most despised books. Like, I don't like these books, and it's just like it doesn't resonate because they're trying they're trying so hard to do something, and they might succeed, but it's having emotion, having characters that spark something in you. I find it to be more valuable.
One of the reasons that people look down, well, not people, but in general, the romance genre is a little bit looked down on because it is, well, first of all, I think it's a very feminist thing to do to write romance.
Yes.
You're writing about women's pleasure and what women want. You're not writing for a male audience. You're really writing for women. So I find it empowering, even though it might sound silly. It's like, I'm writing for my sisters, right? This is what we want. This is what we want to consume, and so I'll watch media, whatever it is, with my husband, and it's always violent. It's always somebody's getting murdered. There's huge explosions. And I'm like, well, that's fine. That's what you want to consume. But I want to watch people getting it on and falling in love and all, that's okay. So I love the literary classics, but styles change over time too. So stuff that, Wuthering Heights, you're reading it and you're like, wow, this is very, very different from what we read now.
Yeah.
So you just gotta write what you love.
Yes.
Because otherwise it's really, if you're trying to make yourself write, like I really have to write a thriller or I have to write it in this way, it's going to get miserable because writing novels, I mean, especially if you do it for a living, you have to enjoy what you're doing or else it will really suck.
It's true. I'm sorry if you like Great Gatsby. I know so many people who love
things that, it's like, I read them all and it's like, I consume them and now I remember a few of them.
Right.
But
exactly.
But you know what I remember? All the freaking books I've read this year because they're all romance.
Yeah. And those can really stick with you, like Twilight. I mean, come on, and people, the critics ripped that book so hard, and like 50 Shades, it's like, okay, sold 150 million copies. So it's resonating with someone.
Right.
It's because it's female joy and they have problems with that.
Exactly.
Yep. So speaking of writing what you love, we love the sense of humor that you incorporate into your novels and especially into your heroines. And we wondered, is the humor something that you have taken from people you know or your life? Because it's just so funny and engaging.
Well, my mom was really funny. So she was born in London, but she grew up in New Jersey. So she had this very, I don't even know how to say it, like two sides of her personality. But I just find people from like New Jersey and New York usually have really sharp, witty sense of humor.
Yeah.
So I kind of grew up with that. And I like funny people in general. And when I first started writing, I gave myself a lot more pressure to it has to be this very serious, with all these big words. And that was my first series. And after that, I was like, we need a laugh in here. So I like to now balance these moments of intensity with moments of levity so that you kind of are having like a bit of a roller coaster ride. So you don't have this thing. Humor for me is very important in life. And so I think it's important in my books.
It's one of the most natural bits of dialogue and humor. It feels so real to me, I'm listening to two friends just talk.
Yeah, because and again, when I first started writing, it was much more stilted. It was much more formal. People would say, I am going to go to the whatever. It's like, but the way people talk, it's like, I'm going to do this or that.
Yeah.
And so you have a much more casual, when they're in conversations, you can have a much more casual way of speaking. And so you become immersed in it because it feels more real.
Yeah.
Instead of being so, literary. But and then when you want to create some kind of atmosphere, then you can use all your your big flowery words or whatever. But not when people are talking to each other. It has to be real. And I love to do the banter.
Oh my God, you do it so freaking well. I mean, and there's like moments where the first time like I was reading, I was like, Amy, you have to read this book. But like even there's something about all women have their bestie that they just sit there and laugh for hours with, and they just like can't stop laughing. And, even in your worst moods, they cheer you up and everything. So, of course it's always, I'm like, Amy, we're Nat and Sloan. Are we? Maybe not. But at the same time, it just like, it's that humor that resonates so much, I think, with women too.
Yeah, and also it's good to have a foil. So that the main female character, you want the readers to identify with her, but the secondary character can be somebody outrageous, like Sloane, who was just oh my God, I want to be her. But she's the main character, so it's like, how do I give Sloane her book? Like, who can I match her with, because she's such a force of nature. So I like to have women, female relationships that are they support each other. I don't have women in my books who are backstabbing each other or any of that kind of stuff, because we all did that when we were freaking teenagers. Let's get over that and let's So.
Bitterness is for your 20s. Like, I'm not here for any of that. Yeah, it's like we do notice that, because we do, during on seasons, we do like a literary analysis of popular books. So we did the whole SJM ACOTAR series. And one thing that we talk about is that and I'm obsessed with her and I love her, but like, I wish I saw more female driven dynamics. And I think, again, that's something that is special in the romance genre, is that you do get a lot of positive female interactions. A woman is not the villain. A woman is not there to, take your man. I mean, sometimes they are, and I'm not mad at it, but like for the most part, like, the women are there to support one another. Like, we're all old enough. We know our brains are done developing.
That's why I just, I don't read like young adult and the new adult. I tried to, and I just found the relationships too shallow. As you get older, you have much more complex relationships with people in your lives, and you become a more complex human being. So I like to write about, again, it goes back to the morally gray kind of people. They're just interesting, Who wants to read about the village of like the happy people? It's boring.
Okay, I hear you. I'll become more morally gray so that I can become more interesting. I will.
He's got one right now. No.
I will start my endeavors today.
Fall has officially started here in Los Angeles, and that means we finally get to do fall activities.
I have been counting down the days for when I can go to pumpkin patches, maybe even hit up an apple orchard, and I get to do all of it looking super cute in my Quince boyfriend sweater.
This weather is perfect for my dark academia vibes, and I'm so excited to bust out my washable silk blouse because I'm going to be taking pictures.
Quince is known for their Mongolian cashmere sweaters from $50. And that's not all. Quince has so many other amazing things on their website.
All of those items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands.
That includes leather jackets, cotton cardigans, soft denim. Like, my entire fall wardrobe is genuinely turning into Quince wardrobe.
By partnering directly with top factories and cutting out the cost of the middleman, we get savings as the customer.
One of my favorite parts about Quince is the fact that they only work with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices. And they still manage to get premium fabrics and finishes for that, luxury feeling for every item that they have.
Get cozy in Quince's high-quality wardrobe essentials. Go to quince.com/booktalk for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK, to get free shipping and 365-day returns. That's quince.com/booktalk.
Move your career further, faster in just 2 days with a Harvard Professional and Executive Development Program. Advance your leadership skills, craft smarter business strategies, build your network, and transform how you work and think to keep your career moving forward. You'll earn a certificate and can add Harvard to your resume with Harvard Professional and Executive Development. Learn more at professional.dce.harvard.edu/Spotify.
Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. No. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
So speaking of, having your characters be realistic, and they are older, and as someone who is an elder youth, and I am 33, I respect that very, very much so. And I think a lot of that comes with balancing the humor and the mental health. And it's very clear in your storytelling that you have that balance, which it is hard to do, to just sit there and be able to laugh at your mental health, but also have those real discussions. Do you have an approach to how you handle that balance? I mean, it sounds like you let them talk through you, and, you let them have that conversation. But, again, I'll use Nat and Sloan as a point of reference, but the way that they talk about therapy, or the way that they talk about this is how I cope, but they're funny with it too.
Yeah. I mean, and everybody copes in very different ways. So in the book I just wrote, Liars Like Us, the way that the main character, Emery, copes with her anxiety is by drinking, right?
Yeah.
Which is not a healthy coping mechanism, which I had the hero point out to her at one point. It's like, this is not a good way for you to be, and it's not working for you, because she was saying, oh yeah, it's worked for me so far. And he's like, no, it hasn't. So we have characters who aren't doing things the way they should be doing, but someone else can point out that, this is a problem. And again, it goes back to making characters who are believable on many different levels, because we all have our days, whether it's, if we're struggling with depression, if we're struggling with anxiety, whatever it is that we have in our lives, it's okay to put that in your books. And the more books that I write, the more that I'm trying to address that a little bit more, because it's a fine line as a writer. You don't want to, and I have done this, offend readers by what may come across as an uncaring or a half-hearted mention of something that someone is very, may be struggling with or something. So, so you want to be real in your characterizations and your dialogue, but you also at some point have to be careful that you're not just, throwing away these terms and writing stories where maybe, you're not the best person to be representing this particular line of conversation or what have you. So I've become much more aware of that. And because my sense of humor in general is very sarcastic, sometimes I have to dial that back when I'm, trying to deal with these kind of mental health talks. But in general, that's in the conversations that women have between themselves. We're always talking about, these kinds of emotional things that are real, and it makes the characters more real too if you delve into that a little bit.
It's true. I never make my therapist laugh more than when I'm going through something. It's like, I will break you.
Yeah. And it's good now. I think it's healthy that so many more people are talking about, yes, I'm in therapy, or yes, I'm on medication for depression, or what have you. So it's good to see that in your books.
Yeah.
I appreciate the awareness that you have, though, of like, I'm aware that I want to include this more and include this in the conversation more, but I'm also aware that I need to be careful about how the conversation is presented. Because you don't mean harm in the process, right?
No, I know. And I have stepped in it a couple of times with, my intent is always just to entertain. It is never to offend or cause harm. But sometimes it does happen. And when that happens, it's like, okay, I need to either change this or in future be much more aware of that, and everybody, I mean, at least for me, I'm continuing to try and grow as a person and as a writer. So if I do step in the shit, it's like, okay, I did that.
Yeah. But
wrong.
But it's also hard to tell where people are coming from in writing, like when they're reading something too, like, it's
you can't predict everyone's reaction.
Yeah. And it is a very hard balance, but
and I think we're living in at least in literary times where it can be a little bit scary to try and stretch yourself because people have become much more sensitive to certain subjects and certain things. So many writers that I know are actually feeling sort of a chill on their creativity because they're worried about how it's going to be taken. So we do have an obligation, I think, to tell stories that are not going to harm people, but also, where's the line? I mean, as an artist, I want to create books and characters and worlds that people go, oh my God.
Yeah.
And so if you're too concerned with how people are going to take it, that gets in your head and it stifles creativity. So it's a weird thing.
It is. And, just wanting to see more, but it's also like kind of showing representation at the same time of like, mental health can be handled in so many different ways. Amy and I are very vocal on the podcast of like, being on medication. I'm bipolar. It's like not what people imagine that it is. And, being honest of like, I'm not having these episodes that you guys think. I'm just super productive. But then it's like super depressed and you don't, but wanting to be honest about it. But it's also, sometimes people just cope through humor. Like
that's true.
Amy was at my grandma's funeral. I was taking selfies with her urn. Like, it was like, you have to just figure it, you have to cope with it. And that's not everyone's style too.
Right. Everybody is very different. So
yeah. Did all my aunts and uncles like me taking selfies? No, they didn't.
like,
did they slightly judge me by dipping into my grandpa's stash of like weed gummies? I was like, goodbye guys. I'm coping. Goodbye. I'm here. Yeah. I'll be in the corner having a good time. Yeah. I read Liars Like Us, Emery, with like, she started like just going in and just having a drink of like her life is falling apart.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's alcohol. Sometimes it's your grandpa's gummies after he died that you take.
And that's realistic because
it is very
strong all the time? Nobody.
No.
Right.
I was just going to say we're all, we all struggle with something, but.
Right. And we all use different things as coping mechanisms. Some people work out to cope. I wish I was that person. I am not. Yeah. I overeat and I overdrink, and that's just who I am. And, we're all allowed to have different vices.
Yes, we are. Absolutely. And I, take a lot of naps. So it's like,
God, the naps.
I overdrink. So it's like a thing, I don't know. We're going down a weird road in this conversation.
I love our road.
Stuff that I do that's really weird.
Oh no. I like to keep things in perspective. Like my mom, where she's like, are you sure, honey? I'm like, look, am I doing drugs? Because I can go harder. If you're concerned, mother, I can get worse. Don't think I won't.
Yeah. And you don't want to know anyway. So
yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. She really doesn't.
Yeah. So going back to a topic of conversation we had earlier, Jack and I, as we mentioned, really, really love the female friendships that you articulate in your books. And, you mentioned wanting to have real complex characters, but is the female friendship dynamics also something that you very intentionally approach, having that foil, as you mentioned? Is that a staple of your writing, or is that something that just happens naturally during the writing process?
It has become a staple of my writing. The thing is, I try not to think too much about what I'm doing. I'm an overthinker, I can paralyze myself with anxiety about overthinking. So I have to remind myself, don't overthink it, and then just allow myself to do it. So I try not to think too much about my process and all of that, and just trust it. And for me, that has worked. Yeah. But it seems as I've gone along, these female friendships have become much more important in my books. And also just from a creative writing thing, then you have, if you have an ensemble cast, and there you can have, the next book can be the previous girl, and then so it's kind of easier to work, instead of writing standalones all the time, which you're scratch. So
there was something you said though about like not overthinking, and that really resonates with me, because I do definitely overthink my writing way too much, and it can be very paralyzing. So I do appreciate just what I'm hearing is you're very naturally talented, and you don't have to think too much.
I get it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, like I said, I've read a lot of books. And so I think when you read a lot, you absorb on a subconscious level the 3-act structure and building tension and I think you do. You absorb that the more that you read. It's like mental practice for then writing your own book.
Yeah.
And so I always like to read a lot of different things, but I have just getting to know myself better as I'm in my 6th decade now. I just realized that I'm a person who is very intuitive and I go by my gut. This is how I make my decisions. I don't like to plan out more than like a couple days in advance, which my husband, he hates that. He's like, we're going on vacation in April. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm in the mood for that. So
Ask me in March.
Yeah.
you have to learn how to trust yourself and trust your intuition and just take a deep breath and let it go. And then at the end, there's a process for the critic and the editor to come in, but you have to get past that while you're working.
Trusting the instinct. You gotta, yeah. And then like, again, if you're doing this through a character driven story, it's trusting them.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Because you're like, what are they saying? Like Cage in Ruthless Creatures, the stuff that started coming out of his mouth, like when he tells her, finger banger and I'm at supper, okay, I guess we're just gonna go in that direction. All right.
I gotta let you speak your truth. Let's So going into, I think you hinted a little bit earlier with this, and I did not want to spoil my question, but you have series that overlap with one another because they all take place in the same universe. And every single time it catches me off guard. Like every single time, like, wait a minute, is this Declan? Is this the Declan? And then I get very excited and go and yell at my roommate about it, who no idea what's going on. Or I'll yell at Amy. I get very aggressive when I'm happy. Did you know that from the get-go that you wanted this to be your approach, that they're all going to be part of the same universe? Or did some characters just make a guest appearance and you're like, oh, look at that. They live here now.
Yeah. Well, Killian Black is someone who is very aggressive about inserting himself into manuscripts. And so I just I'm going to have to let him do that because, and when I talk like this, my husband is like, you sound insane. Right?
No,
no, you don't.
People like they're real. And I'm like, well, they're real to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't realize I was doing it at the beginning, but the last few books and series, I'm like, okay, there's a metaverse going on here. And at some point they're all going to catch up. But the thing that I want to warn you about is the way that I am, I love tragic endings. God. So not everybody is going to survive that whole. So it might not end up being a true romance because, I like the gut punch ending where you're like,
what are you going to do to me? I just like it's
the disappointment is radiating.
Like I'll try not to give anyone too I won't kill Killian, I'll promise you that. But so there are some other.
I'm not willing to sacrifice anyone, JT. Like I don't know who.
What if it's for the greater good? I'm sorry.
We haven't figured out who Cole is. I'm willing to sacrifice him. That's he hasn't. His book hasn't been published yet. It comes out next month on the 5th.
It comes out on the 28th of September.
Oh,
Cole.
I really hyped myself up for the 5th. That's okay. I can wait more. No, we haven't met him fully, so I am willing for him to die because I don't know him. So,
I will not tell him that you said that.
Give me 24 hours after the 28th, and I guarantee I will become obsessed with him.
Don't kill him.
No one. Yeah. Oh no. I'm okay. All right. I'll process later of what the information you've given me here.
Okay.
The great irony is that Jack loves to cause the same trauma to her readers.
I do kill off a lot of characters personally. I do love a tragic end, and I do love everything. So as much as this hurts me, I also love it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll write a scene, and at the end I'll be like, yeah, God, they're gonna hate me. They're gonna hate me. It's done. It's written. I love it. So it's going out like that, So,
it's also a reminder of to your readers, be like, hey, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of this.
Oh, no.
I'll take anyone out.
People I think get trauma bonded with me because they're like, and they have trust issues because they're like, we don't know what you're going to do. So I can't trust when I pick up one of your books, I'm not going to hate you forever.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that now.
Yeah. But that's what I'm going for. Not causing trauma, but a memorable reading experiences, because I cannot tell you how many books that I've read. I'm like, this is the same thing. 90% of the books that I read, I stop by chapter 2 or 3. I'm like, it's not enough. I need more. I need something that's going to smack me across the face or hook me pretty quickly. And you can tell pretty quickly if the pacing is correct and all these things. So yeah, I'm a very picky reader.
No, I mean, like, I can tell that happened because there's like, they'll talk, like the characters will talk about their emotions. And it's always like, that gets me so excited where I'm like, oh my God, they're communicating. I love it. Like, this is like, that's my foreplay. Like, just go ahead and talk about your feelings. And then
I like to have not pages and pages of like somebody's thinking in their head. It's like, okay, something needs to happen now. We need to have a conversation. We need to go somewhere.
You avoid unnecessary plot points by having characters just say, hey, it hurt my feeling when you did this. And they're like, ah, damn. Okay, I won't do it again.
I hate the miscommunication trope. I can't
stand it. Hate.
Let's have a conversation about it. Yeah.
Yes.
So it is a convenient trick for a writer to cause tension and drama. But for me, it's a cheap trick. It's like,
I agree.
Make something else happen that causes these people to be apart instead of just, oh, well, you know, he said this and I thought it meant this, and then we never talk about it and you break up for 6 months. It's like, well, that's just stupid.
Yeah. No, yeah. I'm an aggressive over communicator. I'm constantly asking people if they're mad at me. So it is, it's anxiety. It is a cheap trick. I agree.
It works, and I think readers don't like it either. They don't like that, and they don't like the secret baby. That's another one. Like, why don't you just tell this guy I got pregnant? Why does it have to? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just another one of those things. Everybody has their opinion about it.
We did an episode where we asked our listeners like their biggest book ick, and it was like the tropes that they don't like, and pregnancy trope was one of the top ones. Like, no.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
But we're all women, and a lot of women have kids and, get pregnant and whatever, but it's like, no, I don't want to hear about it.
Well, the irony is that in the same episode, we said, what are the tropes you love? And they said, breeding kinks. So we like the idea of getting pregnant, but not getting pregnant.
Yeah, the reality of pregnant is like, blech, but
I want you to want to knock me up, but don't.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like when my husband asked me to marry him, it's like, I don't really want to get married, but I like that you want to marry me. Yeah. So yes, we're going to get married. That makes no sense. I know.
No, I love it. That's the energy I strive for. Like, I don't want to.
We're all complex.
Yeah. I don't want to have to ever ask a guy to marry me.
Oh God, no. Oh my God.
I'm not going to do an ultimatum.
No. I'm the girl who's like, oh my God, you're not talking to me for 5 hours. Next. Love me constantly. And that's why one of the reasons we love romance so much. And that's one of the things I try and do with my heroes. It's like they're obsessed with their women. Even if they don't want to be, they still are,
Yes. Which I love.
Love it.
I love.
Who wants a half-hearted, yeah, you're okay. It's like, no, sir, I am not okay. Get on your knees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So speaking of these characters, I think we touched on this a little bit earlier. Sometimes a character will have a small role in a novel, and then the next novel is about them, and they have this in-depth story. How and when do you decide who gets to have their story told?
They usually will tell me. So it's like whoever becomes interesting in the first book, it's like, oh, now I need to go follow this person. And a lot of my side characters tend to have big personalities. So it's just, Sloane was the natural choice.
Yeah.
But like in the third book in the series, I'm like, well, who else am I going to put in here? And Riley, Sloane's sister, had not been introduced yet. So I had to introduce her. But everybody loved that whole thing so much. And then everybody wanted Spider's story. And I'm like, okay, well, who am I going to put with Spider? She hadn't been introduced yet. So sometimes it's natural, and sometimes it's sort of a mix and match. Like, okay, well, I have this one character. Who am I going to pair them with? Is there really? So.
Oh, you're kind of playing like matchmaker. You're like, all right, I've got you. I got you. Do you match? No. Yeah. Do you?
And how are we going to match these two up where there's sparks and conflict? Because you can't just, I don't do friends to lovers, romance. I really like enemies to lovers. There's a lot of juicy stuff there, or rival clans, or, there's all kinds of lies underneath that you're hiding. Some kind of juicy stuff.
Give me something juicy. Kidnap me. I'm in. It's, yeah.
Right? In real life, wouldn't it be funny if in real life we get kidnapped and then we're just so blasé about it? Like, oh, I know, you're just in love.
I know, like, wow.
No, really, I want I want to call your parents for a ransom. Sure you do.
Oh, you mean a dowry because you're going to marry me? That's
By our literature that we wouldn't be phased. We'd be like, oh, you're so cute.
oh, that's adorable. What was it about me? Is it my smile?
Yeah. How long have you been stalking me?
Oh my God. Tell me you've been stalking me for months. You have my heart. It's like,
what's the ring? Show me the ring. Yeah.
oh, or like, again, not wanting to spoil, but a certain series, you mean years?
Yeah.
My God, it was when that one happened. I'm a sucker for a stalker romance too. So, well, I mean, once we got that plot twist, I was like, you breadcrumbed us in the beginning. You like, there were clues.
A little clue.
Yeah.
And a lot of people blow past it. And then they're at the end, they're like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now
it makes me happy every single time. Every time I'm always like, there's a clue. I missed it. Yay.
And if you reread the book, then you always find more clues. I like to sometimes be like, oh, okay, I missed that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite part of the reading process is rereading to look for all the clues.
Mm-hmm.
But that first time, you can never have that same feeling of discovery as you do the first time you read a book that you love. And you get to the end, you're like, I'll never read it again for the first time.
It's like the Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
It's the same feeling. Like I feel that way with a handful of books where it's just like, oh, you don't get the Sixth Sense moment anymore.
Yeah.
But it's fine. We'll survive. We'll manage.
That's why people just need to keep writing books so we can just have more of them.
Yeah. As we wrap up, our last question to you is, are there any upcoming projects you'd like our listeners to know about? And if there's anything you don't want to tell them, but tell us specifically, we're welcome to that too. I throw them under the bus constantly with this question. So.
Well, there will be 3 books in the Morally Gray series. The second one, Fall Into You, comes out September 28th.
I'll make sure to read it on a weekend where I'm able to not have to get up at work. I mean, yeah. I've gotten 4 hours of sleep before just trying to finish one of your books.
Oh my God. Which one?
Which one have I not? I mean, your all your books are all on my TBR and I've made good progress, but like Declan and Sloan, of course, Liars Like Us recently. That was one that I was like, that did it to me too.
Did you read Perfect Strangers?
Yes, I did. That one too.
Okay. That's one where people either are like, I loved it and I thought that was genius, or they're like, I hate you and I will never read another one of your books.
No, I mean, I cannot stop singing your praises. I'm obsessed with literally everything that you do. And I trust the process. So I'll trust you until you hurt me. But no, it's
well, I will tell you right up front, I'm gonna hurt you. So
oh, no, damn it. All right, I'll mentally prepare.
So you have to trust
I'll trust you.
There's always something in the end, whether it doesn't have to be a traditional happily ever after, but there is some redeeming something where at least, they're either together forever in the afterlife or whatever it is, where people are really mad and I'm like, well, I didn't really leave you hanging.
Yeah. You got an ending, people. It could have been worse. We could have faded to black.
Well, thank you so much, JT. You were fabulous. It was so lovely talking to you. And
this was a lot of fun.
Oh, you're so much fun. It makes me so happy that when you get to meet an author that you respect and admire, and then to be able to meet them, I don't know, it gives me happy, warm feelings that you're just as amazing as your own writing. So.
Oh, thank you. And I can't wait to, I'm doing a couple of events, signing events. I haven't done signing events in like 8 years. So I'm going to be at Love in Vegas in October. And then I'm going to Readers Take Denver in, I think that's in April.
Any LA?
So I'm going to start doing more in-person events too. So.
Are you going to, if you're ever in LA, let us know.
Okay.
Yes, please.
I'm actually originally from LA.
Okay.
I mean, I lived in Marina Del Rey. So
nice. Yeah. Well, next time you're here, please let us know. We'd love to meet up.
That would be fun. We could go have a cocktail.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a date.
Yes, please. Cool. All right. Well, also, where can people find you online?
My website, jtgeissinger.com. I'm on TikTok, JT Geissinger Author, JT Geissinger Author on Instagram. And God, I don't know. I just signed up for Threads, but I'm not sure how that's going to work out because I have the attention span of a squirrel, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be over there very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
All right.
Okay. Thank you guys.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this mini episode of Book Talk for Book Talk. We encourage you to rate and subscribe to our show on your preferred podcast listening platform.
We would love to hear your thoughts based on today's conversation. You can submit your comments to our form at booktalkforbooktalk.com or via our Camflare voicemail system. Please visit booktalkforbooktalk.com for more information.
You can also follow us on TikTok or Instagram at the handle Book Talk for Book Talk. Bye! Fall has officially started here in Los Angeles, and that means we finally get to do fall activities.
I have been counting down the days for when I can go to pumpkin patches, maybe even hit up an apple orchard, and I get to do all of it looking super cute in my Quince boyfriend sweater.
This weather is perfect for my dark academia vibes, and I'm so excited to bust out my washable silk blouse because you know I'm going to be taking pictures.
Quince is known for their Mongolian cashmere sweaters from $50. And that's not all. Quince has so many other amazing things on their website.
All of those items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands.
That includes leather jackets, cotton cardigans, soft denim. Like, my entire fall wardrobe is genuinely turning into Quince wardrobe.
By partnering directly with top factories and cutting out the cost of the middleman, we get savings as the customer.
One of my favorite parts about Quince is the fact that they only work with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices. And they still manage to get premium fabrics and finishes for that, luxury feeling for every item that they have.
Get cozy in Quince's high-quality wardrobe essentials. Go to quince.com/booktalk for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK, to get free shipping and 365-day returns. That's quince.com/booktalk.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous 2-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass?" So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.